Hey everyone, and welcome to the Ghost in the Shell 1995 and 2017 comparison video. Basically, I wanted to take the time to compare, the original 1995 anime movie Ghost in the Shell versus the 2017 remake, live-action remake. And really quick, I want to establish this isn't going to be a contest of okay, this movie is superior to this movie, because honestly, I feel like they are two separate entities. And I say this because, the original movie was made in 1995, and it spawned the anime that followed, as well as Standalone Complex, which followed that. Whereas the live-action movie that came out in 2017, I feel like is probably just going to be its own standalone movie, and is probably just something to appeal more to the Western audience. Because anime is becoming more of a mainstream thing over here in the States. I mean, it's been around for some time, but now you got a whole new generation of kids, watching anime and really being interested in it. And I feel like Hollywood is kind of trying to tap that demographic, hitting some some live-action versions of anime movies to see if there's interest in it. I know in Japan they have released several Rurouni Kenshin movies, a Phoenix Wright movie, and they have a Full Metal Alchemist movie coming out. I want to say it's December 2017. So, they're going, okay, we're going to take this stuff and we're going to see if you guys want to see that as well. And I've heard some good things. But, yeah, this video is not about saying, one is better than the other. This is looking at what did the live-action movie do that was the same, that was different, what worked and what did not work, basically. And of course, when I say that, I also want to point out that there are going to be spoilers in this. Really quick, if you have seen the 1995 anime movie, honestly, for the most part, it is the same movie. The only difference is some plot elements are jumbled up. This character does this instead of this other character doing this. And also, I feel like the conclusions of the two films are different. And really quick, I prefer the anime ending versus the live-action ending. Just to make that perfectly clear. Both films are both films are good. The 1995 movie is excellent, and the 2017 movie has its appeal for the Western audience. So there's that. If that's what you wanted to hear. If you want to see what we did in 2017, stick around. First off, like I had said, for the most part, it is the exact same movie. Honestly, there are seven scenes that I noted that were pretty much recreations from the anime movie. You have, in the opening, whenever she jumps down and falls past the window, the attack on the diplomat, which turns out to be in the live-action movie an executive for the Hanka company. Let's see. The third thing was chasing, a camoed guy through the streets of Japan, and ultimately having a fight with him on the water, interrogating the garbage man, her going diving, and finally, in the end, the conclusion, the facing off with the tank. And honestly, for the most part, I preferred how they did it in the anime. But looking at it from a cinematography standpoint, it's interesting to see, okay, we're going to take these scenes that were animated, 22 years ago, and we're going to recreate them in live action. Though, at this point, it's a lot of computer graphics and special effects, so it's about the same. You just have live people versus animated characters, where you have, honestly, a bit more freedom. And I'm not holding it against them. I'm just saying, I hadn't seen the live-action movie before I saw the anime, so I didn't know all of them. I mean, I could pick out, okay, that's probably a recreation, that's probably a recreation, and that's probably a recreation. But, yeah. One of the things that the live-action movie did that I liked was, in the very beginning, they established, who the Major is. Basically that, yes, she is a human brain in a cyborg body. So she's hovering in that awkward place between being a full-on cyborg and being a human being. She's not quite cyborg because she has the human brain. And she's not quite human because she has the cyborg body. It's... yeah. Just like how I feel that, this movie kind of hovers in that weird space between being a remake and being something of a reimagining. Because, like I said before, some plot elements are jumbled around. But, for the most part, the same actions occur. And besides the conclusion, the end result is about the same. So it hovers between, remake, because, okay, we're doing it live action this time, and reimagining, because we changed this aspect, and that aspect, and that aspect. Yeah. Like, one of the interesting things that they have in the live-action movie is the origin of the character. Like, actually, I have to back up a little bit. One of the big changes here is that, and I feel like, and I may be incorrect in this, and if I am, please correct me, but both movies have, the government conspiracy aspect to this. In the anime film, a ghost presence known as the Puppet Master manifests itself within the data stream. Hacks into a cybernetic body and, starts functioning and committing crimes. Whereas the live-action movie, it is established to the Major that, the transplant of her brain into a cybernetic body is not the first attempt at that. That is what her origin story is in the very beginning. But she comes face to face with a man named Kuze, who is one of, I believe he said 98 or 99 other individuals who, were kidnapped, had their brains taken out of their body, and the government attempted to put those brains into different bodies. Well, cyborg bodies. And that's one of the big differences. Is, you have the government... In the anime film, basically, the government has some culpability in that, they had the data stream and this thing manifested out of it. And they want to cover up all that evidence. Destroy the cyborg body that it's in, kill the Major because she's had contact with this thing. And also, it may have seeped into her brain because they do hook up because she wants to see what this thing is and figure it out. Whereas the live-action film, like, they literally kidnap people, kill them, put their brains in bodies, and the Major learns about this and is given some information to find out, okay, here's who you were before you became this cyborg. And, yeah, it's interesting. Like, the live-action remake adds some more elements that pull at your heartstrings. Like, she was a teenage girl. She was against cybernetics and stuff like that. And unfortunately, she was kidnapped, essentially killed, and now recruited to become a soldier for the government. Yeah. Whereas the anime film, they're already established as investigators. They're working on cases, and basically, they uncover a conspiracy of the government being somewhat accountable for the Puppet Master being born and need to be destroyed for that. Yeah. It's interesting. And honestly, I'm just going to cut to the end at this point because I don't have much else to say. But in the end, in the anime film, Section 6, who is supposed to be behind the conspiracy, Section 6, who is supposed to be behind the conspiracy of, the Puppet Master manifesting, tries to kill the Puppet Master as well as the Major, because she is hooked into this brain, and we're not given an exact answer to, is the Puppet Master still inside her brain from whenever they were linked? Batu asks about it, and she doesn't give a response that indicates one way or the other. Whereas in the live-action movie, pretty much, all the government officials that were associated with, the kidnapping and stuff, they're shot dead, and that's it. The Major goes on with her life as a cyborg with a human brain, fighting crimes, stopping cybernetically enhanced criminals, and all that. And honestly, I prefer the anime film because, it leaves you with more questions. It engages you. It makes you go, okay, they tried to kill her, and she has a new body now, so that she can hopefully escape into the crowd and just disappear. But what happens to her? Does she, is the Puppet Master still in her brain? Will things ever be resolved? It's more open, and honestly more interesting because of that. Like I said, both movies are excellent. They're interesting. They're engaging. The anime film is the original, and honestly, if you have any interest in seeing, the anime, the two anime that follow, Ghost in the Shell and Ghost in the Shell standalone complex, you don't have to see the live action, honestly. And I wouldn't just see live action then just jump into Ghost in the Shell and standalone complex, because there may be some discrepancies in there. So, yeah. I think both movies are good, but the anime movie does it a bit better. But I will leave that open to your interpretation. What are your thoughts on Ghost in the Shell? The 1995 anime, the manga, and the movie versus the 2017 movie. Do you like one better than the other? Do you think one had some elements that worked more than the other? I'm like I said, I had that, so it's interesting. And yeah, not sure what else really to say. So with that, everyone, have fun, stay safe, and remember, every character has a story to tell. I'm Valiant Bradley James, the character investigator.